Hello, hello, and welcome to the second of today's episodes of Saddest Night Out. My name is Roy, and I am the host of this daily podcast, and it's primarily about music and creative culture in London. You can find me online on most social media at Saddest Night Out, all as one word, and you can find this podcast by searching for Saddest Night Out, all as one word, on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. This second and the third of today's episodes are very much owed to my friend Shane. I went to see a show at the Old Blue Last, which I haven't done for a while. Also, side note, I walked there from Caffrey Studios along Hackney Road, and I went past Troy Bar, which is where there is a pretty formidable open mic night that happens. There was a bit of a queue already forming for the open mic night that night, and at the front of the queue happened to be Bartoleu, who's been on the podcast before, and Kieran, who hasn't yet been on the podcast. So that was a nice moment on the way to the show. Went to a show at the Old Blue Last, mainly to catch up with my friend Shane. I hadn't heard of any of the bands that were playing. I caught the last two. They were both fantastic, and they were both kind enough to talk to me for the podcast after the show. It had been a while since I'd seen a show or interviewed a band at their show, so it felt a little awkward, but I powered through that pain, and I'm very glad I did. The first of those two bands is Classic Yellow. That's who I'm speaking to on this episode. Let me catch my breath there. They are a 5-piece rock psychedelic band from Dublin, Ireland, and they are Frank on vocals and guitar, Kieran on vocals and guitar, Dylan on drums, Samuel on bass and vocals, and Evan on keys. And lucky me, and also lucky you, I got to speak to all 5 of them for this episode. I approached them after their set, which was fantastic. They all wore sunglasses on stage, which is not an easy thing to pull off, but they did it in spades with, I don't know where I'm going with that, but anyway, I spoke to all 5 of them outside of the venue, and towards the end of the chat it was just starting to rain, so that essentially called time on our chat. But they were all very enthusiastic to talk to me, and there was a lot to talk about since this was the first time I met them, so by proxy, for some of you listening, it might be the first time you've met them as well. So, that's enough from me. Let's get to that. This is me talking to all 5 members of Classic Yellow. Enjoy this chat, and I'll catch up with you more afterwards. I am outside the Old Blue Last. My ears are still ringing from the music I've heard tonight, all of which was completely new to me. I'm here with the first band that I saw tonight, known together as Classic Yellow. Would you mind introducing yourselves individually?
Yes. Hello, this is Frank. I am from Classic Yellow.
Kieran Trainer from Classic Yellow.
Dylan Zovich from Classic Yellow.
Samuel George Garrity from a Classic Yellow.
Evan Walsh from CY, that is Classic Yellow.
I get a feeling you guys have done this before. That was pretty well rehearsed there.
That was fairly improv. that was off the cuff.
Yeah, we've actually been working on our improv show.
Come for the improv. Maybe stick around for the music, but that's the real deal right there. So how many times have you guys been to London to play?
This is our first time in London there.
Really?
Yeah.
How long have you guys been together in general?
2 years?
2.5. Yeah,
2 years-ish.
Oh no, 2 years. Yeah, 2 years. Yeah.
Who's known who the longest?
I've known it.
These two.
We've celebrated our 10th anniversary this year.
Yeah, it's incredible.
They're getting a remaster.
Yeah. Friendship has been remastered as we speak.
Yeah, double vinyl reissue. 10th anniversary.
180 grams vinyl.
In the current lineup, we've been going for less than a year, though.
Ev only joined last November.
New blood, I was elsewhere before then.
Ev's the baby of the group, as far as Bins goes concerned.
The oldest.
The oldest baby.
I'm a paradox.
So there's been various iterations of this group. Was the sound always in this direction, or has that changed a bit as well?
I suppose to begin with, it began the 3 of us and one other fellow who didn't stick around. He stuck around for about 2 weeks, and then we got Sam in. I think it began with more of kind of an indie direction, but we've kind of taken it towards a more kind of psychedelic, just kind of late 60s
sound,
kind of vibe.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think it's gone heavily in that direction. So we haven't necessarily like completely gone off the path we're going on, but perhaps taken a slight left.
Was there anything that influenced that shift in direction?
I just suppose the kind of music that we listen to. Well, I used to just listen to a lot of your kind of generic indie and the Beatles, and then I suppose some of these fellows introduced me to more of the kind of late 60s cool stuff that I was not aware of, and
We love to rock.
I think
We love rock music and we love to rock.
yeah. And I think everyone's kind of got a slightly different musical influence, and I think that kind of comes across, and it all comes together into one nicely wrapped package.
So what drew you together in the first place? Was there a bit of a scene where you were from? Were there lots of bands springing up and you were one of them?
Well, the three of us, me, Dylan, and Frank, met each other in college. We went to a music college called BIM in Dublin, and we did production together. So that the first day we met, actually, we said, sure, we all play different instruments, we might as well join a band, you know. And then we met Sam along the way through the scene, and through Sam we met Evan.
Yes.
And just so happened it all formed together, and
we've never looked back.
Haven't looked back since.
The rest is history.
Yeah.
So what is the live scene like over there? Is it tough to get that first gig? Are there tons of venues to play? Are there lots of bands that you're kind of friends with and playing with? Or is it just every man for himself?
I wouldn't necessarily say it's tough. You can't just put down a deposit and you're playing next week.
It's a pretty friendly scene. There's lots and lots of bands out there playing all the time. We sort of there's not that many venues in Dublin, so you sort of end up playing the same venue quite a lot, but that's kind of nice because you get to know the same people and all the bands kind of know each other. So
Dublin's small though, I think overall. It's hard to kind of get yourself out there. Yeah, we've played the same venue about 8 times.
Forced residencies.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't really been exposed so much to the kind of London music scene, but from what we've seen so far, I think we prefer
very
it.
much enjoy it.
Yeah, Dublin's very small. It's kind of hard to spread yourself out when it's that concentrated, you know.
But is there an enthusiasm in the audience?
Of course.
is there?
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
Dublin crowd's notorious for their enthusiasm.
Rowdiness, some might say, yeah.
Yes.
So how did you guys come to know Thumper, who were the headline act tonight? How did this night come to be?
Thumper went to our college. A few of them, well, Alan in particular, we know from working at our college, and I think he was the year ahead of us.
Yeah, no, they're all the year ahead of us, and you just kind of know people's faces, and like once you're kind of in a band scene, you kind of know who's in a band, who's not. And
Back to Dublin being small again, it's easy to know faces and know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it just kind of came about that we were supporting through some people we know. They said, "Do you want to support these lads?" And we're like, "We know those lads, so yes, we'll definitely do that." They're good lads. And they're really active as well. Like a few of them most of them actually, I think, work in the local music shop, which is a hot spot in Dublin. Everyone picks up their strings there. It's all a great laugh. But yeah, that's just kind of how that came about.
It sounds like you can't help but rub shoulders with everyone else who's in a band.
Pretty
in
much,
town.
yeah.
Small city faces a lot, yeah.
Especially with social media, you get all these kind of posts saying like, "Oh, he's in that band. I know his face. And he's in 3 bands that I know." It's more often the case. Yeah.
Have you played much outside, apart from tonight? Have you played much outside of Dublin at all?
We played in Bristol a couple months back.
Brighton.
Come on, man.
Brighton.
The Great Escape Festival. We played there, and we played in Cavan, which is also in Ireland, and we played in Dundalk about a week back,
Which is also in Ireland.
which is also in
And
Ireland.
Galway, which is also in Ireland.
We played a lot around Ireland.
Stradbally, which is
We
also
played
in
it.
Ireland.
We played the majority of the kind of major music festivals in Ireland this year. We played Electric Picnic and Sea Sessions.
Which involved a drive through Northern Ireland, so
That's
there was-
true.
There was another territory was involved.
Okay.
Yeah.
Spreading the wings a little bit there.
Yeah, exactly.
So what lies on the horizon for Classic Yellow? Releases, tours, live shows? What's happening?
Well, we've just recorded a new single and done a DIY video for us, which has been directed and edited by our very own Sam Garrity, who does
Nice work, Sam.
also does all the artwork and everything. But so that'll be out 23rd of October, and it's called Mechanical Bull, and we're all very excited to put it out.
And is there a particular place online that's best to reach you? Facebook, Instagram, Twitter?
Instagram's
Instagram
the
is
main
most
one.
active, yeah.
We're on the other ones, but we don't check them as frequently. I don't think we're really bad at the social media thing. But Instagram's a fun time, I suppose. Yeah.
At Classic Yellow?
Classic
Yellow.
underscore yellow.
That's the details that matter.
That's why we need.
I think it's just starting to rain, so thank you all very much for your time. Let's head on back inside. And yeah, great show tonight. Thank you.
very much.
Thanks very much.
Pleasure to meet you.
And that was that. Thank you once again to Frank, Kieran, Dylan, Sam, and Evan, also known as Classic Yellow. Tell me, as soon as the conversation started, you already knew this was going to be a great chat. I'm here with some fantastic people with a great sense of humour. Seriously, if the music doesn't work out, they should consider comedy, because it was a laugh riot from start to finish. 5 stars, would talk to again. First time in London, I can bet money it won't be the last. It sounds like Dublin is just where things are happening right now. I like the picture they painted of how there are so many different bands happening, and it's not hard, it's easy. That's the opposite. That's what not hard means, right? Yep. It's easy to just constantly rub shoulders with other people in other bands so everyone gets to know each other. And if everyone is as good as this band, then Dublin is just the place to be. I mentioned quite a few episodes ago that I saw Fur play at birthdays, and they were in support of the band Fontaines DC. Also supporting was the band Talk Show, who I interviewed, and of course I've spoken to Fur a few times, but I didn't talk to Fontaines DC. I only stayed for a couple of songs because it was getting late. And then, of course, they were most recently nominated for the Mercury Prize for Album of the Year, I think like a week ago. And there's me thinking, man, I had them in the palm of my hand and I let them slip through. So I feel very fortunate that I got to talk to Classic Yellow at their first London gig. And I look forward to seeing them when they return to London, as I am sure they will. Also, as a side note, so I spoke to them a little bit after this chat for the podcast. In particular, I spoke to Evan, who plays the synths, and he mentioned that he is in another band called Zen Arcade, Z-E-N and then Arcade, and one of the members of that band is also starting a podcast called Higher Fidelity, and that person is also starting a fanzine called Crow Mag Nom. That's CROMAGNOM. So I'm all for the entrepreneurial spirit. I'm getting a little bit nervous that other people in bands are starting podcasts. I thought I was the only one. Don't know what I'm going to do about that. We'll figure something out. But yes, Zen Arcade is Evan's other band, and then Evan's other band is called Lilac, Lilac, and they have a song on Spotify called Pint of Bleach. So do go and check that out. Do go and check Classic Yellow out, and make sure you keep an eye on when they are next in town, because they are outstanding. They are a real force to be reckoned with, as are the next band I'll be talking to on the next and final episode for today. But for now, thank you all very much for listening. Thank you again to all 5 members of Classic Yellow. You can all find me online at Saddest Night Out on social media, as well as reaching out to me on email if you wish, saddestnightout@gmail.com, and you can find this podcast on all good podcast platforms. Thank you for listening, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.